We are living as soon as possible, and that is very frightening because we are already well into the second week of July.
Yo. Wow. This year,
She wants to be in and out.
she should.
She wants to be in and out.
As she should.
I was freaked out because on Friday we had a family call and my mom was asking my siblings what they want for their birthday. Because my mom is the 2nd, my sister's the 3rd, my brother is the 4th of August. So they're like one after the other.
Yeah.
So they're asking, no, so what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, no, wait, what do you mean?
'Cause
August
you are
is
next.
now. I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
August is,
August is like tomorrow. Like next week is the 3rd week and then it's done.
and then it's done.
Then it's done, sweetie.
August, yo, guys. And that time I'm looking at my goals and my kind of little vision board. I'm
You
like,
know what? I was looking for my goals actually, but I couldn't find them. Because I joined a group where people were doing a fast. It's like the mid-year fast.
Okay.
And so they are doing like a goal realignment. They are looking at their goals, what they have achieved and what they have not achieved. And they are now asking for redirection. Should it not be for them? And I was like, where are my goals? I can't remember if I even set some goals this year or if I carried the ones from last year to this year. But nonetheless, the only goal that I know I did not materialize, and it's not going to materialize because it's done now basically, is the one that I had written down that I used to manifest every morning, but I did not get that opportunity that I wanted. So that's basically perhaps the only goal that I have now. I'm just floating. I don't know, should I write new goals or what? But I don't even care to chase things anymore.
That's what I was about to say. Like, I'm so over it. I'm like, oh.
I'm like, I am like living just like whatever is for me, let it find me.
Because
Yeah.
at this point,
I'm not
really
in
tired.
pursuit for anything.
Because I also say the more you chase it, the farther away it gets from you.
Yes.
So it's like, it's fine. Like, I'm really at that point, where I'm just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
It is what it
Because
is.
I'm so tired of disappointment.
Yo, life will disappoint you.
Oh, life is not make sure.
And I feel like for us, maybe Gen Z and millennial, we've been so hopeful. We had these outrageous dreams.
Yes.
And
by 30, I will be this
not even
and
by
I've done
30,
that.
by 21, I'm rich, I'm famous, I'm married.
but
And you're
yo.
like, okay, sweetie.
And life is just looking at you laughing like, that's
by
funny.
30, I'll have a job. And you are 30, you don't have a job. And you're like, yo.
What is going on?
Yeah.
But anyway, we do have some interesting stories coming up right after this.
Wild and free, so it feels so sweet, makes me feel like
And of course, because it's me, I do have to bring you some K-pop news. K-pop Demon Hunters' group, Saja Boys, makes history as first male K-pop group to hit #1 on US Spotify, and it's not even real. A hugely popular K-pop musical animation has seen groups by its fictional bands top US music charts, beating real-life K-pop groups. K-pop Demon Hunters is currently the most streamed movie on Netflix globally, clocking up more than 33 million views in just 2 weeks. On Friday, the song Your Idol by a boy band in the film Saja Boys topped the US Spotify chart. This makes them the highest charting male K-pop group in US Spotify history, surpassing even BTS. Golden, a track by its film's fictional group Huntrix, hit #2 on the chart, surpassing Blackpink as the highest charting female K-pop group. The film's soundtrack shot into the top 10 of the Billboard 200 in the US, making it the highest debut for a soundtrack so far this year. Golden is being released as an official single by Republic Records, and Netflix is apparently submitting it for awards consideration, according to Variety.
Wow.
Yeah.
That for me is, I guess, great news. A shout out to the creators.
Shout out to the creators.
'Cause
But
they
imagine
are
being
eating.
a real K-pop group and you're being beaten by a cartoon.
They just work harder.
Yeah, just work harder.
Like
It is what it is.
there are people who created these cartoons, right?
And there are people that voiced the cartoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not entirely just cartoons that worked on it. You have the human element and you have the human aspect. And I feel like they must be celebrated. They deserve
do.
to be entered for these awards for their hard work. We recognize their hard work. That's why they are number one. And so let us celebrate them. There's
Because
nothing
when I
wrong.
watched the movie, and I listened to the songs, I'm like, oh my
So
goodness.
good.
So good. And like a lot of hard work went into it. So it's definitely amazing to see. And the songs are catchy, they're great. And what I found interesting was that the speaking voices and the singing voices were voiced by two different people.
All right, now moving over to our next story. Tana Martin has reached his final resting place. Now, a week after he announced his own death in a video posted to his wife, Instagram page, he said that he has been battling along. Oh, this story is so sad. I even just want to cry.
I want to cry because I know him. I've been following his journey even when he went to look for his resting place.
Okay, let me take this again because it's so sad. Okay, so the story is a week after he announced his own death in a video posted to his and wife Shay Martin's joint Instagram account following a year-long cancer battle, the influencer's loved ones paid tribute to him at his funeral. Now, the influencer, who was suffering from colon cancer's diagnosis, which was diagnosed in 2020, was such a huge fan of fantasy films that his wife decided to give his funeral a special theme. Let's look at this video that he created before he died.
Hey, it's me, Tanner. If you're watching this, I am dead. I decided to make this video announcing my death because I saw someone did that like a year or so ago. I think it's a good opportunity to get all your thoughts out, and then also you can be thoughtful about what your spouse or your partner might need. And she probably needs some time to grieve. I wanted to make a video where she could just post it and you guys would know, and she could take a break as long as she needed to from social media.
How heartbreaking.
Bruv. Yo, I'm getting
So
goosebumps.
heartbreaking.
And I want to cry because I've been following his journey. Like, and it's, yo. But
No,
yeah.
it's sad. May his soul rest in peace. And that's all we can say. Now, we spoke to DM Etu about her poetry career and everything, all the success that she's currently enjoying. Have a look. They say that poetry is when emotion finds thoughts and these thoughts in turn find words. Now today we are joined by the biggest poet in the country. Her name is Dam Etu, and she is here to talk to us about her thriving career. What up, girl?
Girl, I like the way you say my name because you must say it with a bit of pizzazz.
Yes.
I was
Damn.
not sure. You called us out. You said you must say it with pizzazz. I was like,
Please.
I have to make sure.
You must get it right.
I have to
But thank
make
you
sure.
so much for having me.
No, you're most welcome. Tell us about when you first fell in love with poetry.
To be honest, I have three versions of it. Number one, there was this lady, I grew up in an after-school program called Mondesa Youth Opportunities. And there was this lady, she was a volunteer from the States, and she gave me this journal. I think I was in grade 4. So my writing had an influence on me being a poet. But as cliche as it sounds, there was a time, I think I was grade 6, I was cleaning an English class and I picked up this poetry book. It's an anthology and it had a lot of poetry by different people. But I started writing, but I was trying to emulate the poetry that's in that book. So it was very Western kind of written thing. But then I think my friend was like, no, Chumi, but your writing is good. One guy saw it and was like, can you please write me a letter? So I gave it to my girlfriend. That was in high school. So I was writing letters in high school
for other people's
girlfriends. If you had a guy in high school, okay, chances are very high. I played a part in your love story. So I was selling that. Literally, it was the whole black market thing.
I
That's
love.
when I started writing poetry, and then it grew, and then I was like, oh, I'm actually good at this. It's interesting.
Okay, so what do you write the most about? Do you write with an audience in mind, or is it more of a personal release?
I think most of the times it depends on the pieces that I'm writing, but my writing process is not necessarily that I would think about what to write. Sometimes I would see something happen and I'm like, oh, that's actually something that I could write on. And then I write about it. But most of my pieces are either my friends' experiences, just general experiences. But now I think 5 years ago, when I started writing in Oshuambo, I started writing about the experiences of my childhood, especially about the women that raised me. I'm very big on writing about women's stories.
And what would you say? What would you say inspires your writing apart from women's stories? What about women's stories are you really looking to write? Is it their day-to-day experiences? Is it their love stories? Is it their careers? Or just women in general? And maybe if we can narrow it down.
I like to say that I'm a storyteller, and obviously storytelling doesn't necessarily have a specific niche that I focus on.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's women and what stories they stand for. But I focus a lot on the silence of women.
Okay.
So this goes to what experiences do women have within this silence. And the setup that I grew up with a lot of women who surrounded me, but had a lot of traditional aspects that affected their life in different ways. I was raised by a grandmother who took in a lot of kids, and this person was very selfless, but in the end, her children, especially her boy children and the men that she raised, ended up, going against her, and she ended up having to leave her place. And all those factors come into the stories that I tell about this woman. She had a lot of resilience, she had a lot of self-love, and she took in a lot of kids.
Yeah.
And the one that I also write about is, I write about abuse, I write about how these women actually don't necessarily go report these abuse cases. And it primarily because mostly it's a traditional aspect. And in Oshuambo they say Onkurakajo hadembwa, which is very
It
wrong
is
to
so
me
toxic,
because what do you
yes.
mean Onkurakajo hadembwa? And who is beating the man? Which shouldn't be a thing, but
Yes.
like why did we grow up on the notion that it's okay for women to be beaten and they have no outlet to go and report?
And even now, when you are beaten by your boyfriend or your husband and you
Yes.
go home and to say that, no, ndadengwa konsane, they are like, oh, just go back, heal for now and then go back. Yeah.
It's part of the marriage package, or it's part of the relationship package. And there was a lady who stayed in our yard. She would her boyfriend would always come after he drinks. It's like, yeah, you were cheating, you were doing this and this and this and that. And then he beats her, but it always baffled me how they would always sleep on the same bed. That silence there, what do you guys talk about?
No, I feel like people are very forgiving. When it comes to love, you can overlook a million things.
Oh,
you can
girl.
overlook a million
Girl.
things. And you get over it because I love this person.
Yes, they will change.
Yes,
You
they
have
will
this
change.
hope.
You are hopeful that one day, you will see greener pastures, which
I'm here to tell you.
oftentimes you never ever will.
They
The
won't.
people don't change, especially adults.
No.
It's hard for an adult to unlearn.
Because they bring these things from their childhood, wherever they learned it from, and there's no space for them to actually unlearn this thing.
Yeah.
So these are the stories that I write about. But also sometimes I write about love here and there, but it's not really a big factor because I want to write about the stories that every other person, women, experiences, mostly behind closed doors, or mostly where they don't really have an outlet to speak about them.
Yeah, that's beautiful. When do you know that the piece is finished?
There are so many pieces there that I wrote
That are unfinished?
Yes, and I'm like, okay, this piece looks like it's done, but it's not really done. And sometimes I read it back to myself, or I record it, and then I listen from an outside perspective to see what emotions do I get from this piece. Am I getting the emotion that I intended to get, or is there something missing? Like currently, the Kwaito piece that I'm working on, I started writing that piece with a lot of things in mind, with one thing in mind actually. But when I started writing it, a lot of factors came into it, like what it stood for, what the genre stood for, what the dancers stood for. But I still feel like there's maybe an element that's missing that I still need to incorporate. So once I get that, sometimes I intentionally go into certain spaces that will inspire me to write certain pieces. And sometimes my team doesn't understand. They're just like, what are you doing there, brah?
Who do you then consult when you're stuck? For example, with this Kwaito piece, do you read it to other people, or do you wait for it to be completely done, then you shade? And also, what is your creative process? How do you write? Do you write on a piece of paper? Do you use your laptop? Do you have to sit, go by the beach, since you're from the coast, wait for the sun to come up,
me
and
at a
then
certain angle.
and then you start writing?
Okay, one, I don't necessarily read my pieces to people before they're done, because I just feel like if I read it now, this person already knows, and I have this feeling that maybe they have a certain expectation to how this piece might end. You know, I think the only pieces that I share with people are maybe intimate or sexual pieces that I write.
Yeah.
Those ones I can share because there are chances are very high that I might never recite them somewhere. You know, but most of my pieces, especially this Kwaito piece or any other piece, I try to read up on these topics that I'm writing about.
Yeah.
So reading is a big part of. They plays a big role in how I end pieces, what continues to the pieces that I feel like are incomplete. And my thought process, I write a lot on my phone. I don't know, I feel like it's faster with the thought process as opposed to having to write on paper.
Yeah, because sometimes you're in a cab now, you don't have a piece
Chua
of
me,
paper.
chua me. And there's a piece I wrote, there was a time I was somewhere at a drinking establishment somewhere in Karutura, and I saw something, and in the midst of everybody having fun and whatnot, I started writing, and that piece I finished because I was like, oh, this is inspired by whatever it is that I saw. And so my thought process, sometimes I write on the phone, and then when I feel like, okay, this is where my thought process ends for now, it's just maybe a rough draft, I can leave it. And then I see something else, and I'm like, oh, this actually fits that other piece that I had not written, that I had not finished. And then I get to continue it. But music also plays a big role in how I write. So depending on what I write about, I would also listen to a certain type of music that directly translates into what I'm writing about.
Speaking about writing, I want to put you on the spot. But keep in mind, PG-13. What is that one line that gives you chills that you wrote?
I'm trying to think now. The one line.
Yeah, that you're like,
It's me that wrote this one.
It's me. It is I.
I think it's the piece about the women. And I can't really remember. I don't necessarily memorize my pieces, but it's a line where.
Oh, that's so brilliant! You don't memorize?
No, because I feel like when my pieces are not necessarily memorizing pieces because they are long, and sometimes there's a lot of emotion into it. But there's a specific line where I talk about the women that I write about, the women who carry Omandinye Mbike, and the women who forgive us, and those Patetekelanale. So I'm talking about the people, our friends who died a long time ago, but also these women have gone through so many things to make sure that us, the children, are in a safer space.
Yeah.
So I grew up with women coming from Kukwangali Wanyanga, deep in Angola. I'm sure you've probably not heard of that village. And these women would come with 25 liters of ombike just to come sell, and okanepe is mostly just what? That time it was $10.
Yes.
So imagine you have maybe 7 of these, and you have to sell out, and then that money you have to go back. But in that process, I don't even know how much profit these people would make.
But also oftentimes you'd notice that money is the money that actually sent most of us to school.
Yes,
Yeah.
a lot of it, a lot of that. And a prime example is my mom. My mother would, sell oshungu, omongo, okapana, just so she can sustain the households
Yeah.
with my other siblings that are in the north with her. So all these aspects fall into that very specific line, because these are the women that carried all of us, whether it be your mom that sells fruits and veggies on the side of the road, or in a katak shop, or Hadungo Shkundu. Those are the very women that raised us.
Yeah.
Most of us, millennials especially.
Power to the woman, man. Finally,
Please.
I want to ask about collaborations.
Yes.
You have said openly that you want to work with Gaza. Tell us why you want to work with Gaza and who else you want to work with.
Guys, please. If you have not tagged Gaza, please go tag Gaza in my comment section. But so this piece, like I was talking about earlier on, it's a quite a piece. And when I started writing it, it was on. I grew up in Swakopmund, right? And there was a guy called Kawera. There's a guy, he's still there around. His name is Kawera. But Kawera used to host these Kwaito shows. It was always, Kawera's show too. Yeah, Kawera's show too. So they were held at Meduleto Hall. It's a community hall in Swakopmund. And it's different Kwaito groups that would always come and compete against each other. And some of these guys were my friends. And most of them actually passed on. So when I started writing this piece, it's actually titled In the Remembrance. It was, I was remembering these guys who passed on, and nobody actually talks about them anymore. So it was a thing of, do you remember who, you know, Balak, Pele, Tadeus, Makambe, all those people that I mentioned in this piece. But as I started writing, I was researching on Kwaito, and then I came across this book titled Born to Kwaito by South African artists. I think it's 3 South African artists who wrote on it. And they write, I came to realize that it's not necessarily the dance itself.
Yeah.
It's also the genre, the kind of music that influenced Kwaito, what Kwaito stood for, and all those things. And I feel like in our days, during listening to Kwaito music, Gaza stood out. Because we had fights in high school where it's, you know, Omshasho and GMP 467. I was always a GMP fan, but primarily it was because my brother was a big GMP fan, and in the house,
and he
there was no way you will
Yes.
come up. You are not a GMP fan. What are you doing? So the whole idea is to have Gaza as, you know, being the godfather of Kwaito, and all these other many elements around it would be, you know, elements that speak to what Kwaito stood for. So it's kids dancing Kwaito, it's all stars hanging on a you know, electric fence line, maybe with top score. It's men coming from work representing Odala Teiteke, you know, that whole aspect of contract labor system. And it's women selling kapana, and it's literally maybe even police brutality, all those many aspects that speak to what Kwaito stood for. And I feel like Gaza would be a great character to emulate that because of the kind of music that he does, and the kind of music that we grew up on, especially his album Stof Lapshikapute. I love that album, and it speaks a lot to all the other experiences that I've had when I would listen to him being in his Kwaito element and growing up.
Oh man, that's beautiful.
Oh guys, it's gonna be a beautiful video.
I hope
That
Gaza
just needs to respond to me
responds.
or
But
something.
Etu, we wish you all the best. We
Thank
hope
you
that
so much.
life remembers you and gives you everything that your heart desires.
Thank you.
And we will be rooting for you 24/7.
Thank you
When
so
is the next show, by the way?
So the next show, I have 3 shows lined up.
Nice.
The next show is in August. So whoever missed the launch, there's a chance, because you're the amount of people like, yeah, no, how did I not see this? Guys,
yeah.
you follow me on the social media. How do you not see the things? But there's one in August. We still need to figure out a specific date. Then we have another show in the north.
Nice.
And then there's one in the coast. So I don't want to leave anybody out.
The one in August on Sister.
We are there.
On Sister Optai.
Return.
Thank you so much, Etu.
It is my pleasure. Please, thank you so much for hosting me.
All right, we will be right back. Stick around.
And that's our show for today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place.